The old truck's engine made strange noises as Jake pulled into the dirt road. He had been driving for 12 hours straight from Chicago, and his back was killing him. The GPS had stopped working 2 hours ago, leaving him with handwritten directions his grandfather's lawyer had given him. Jake couldn't believe he was actually doing this. 3 months ago, he didn't even know his grandfather owned a cabin in Montana. His family never talked about the old man. All Jake knew was that his grandfather had left Chicago 40 years ago after some big fight with the family. Nobody ever explained what happened. The lawyer's call came as a complete shock. "Your grandfather Henry left you his property in Montana," the man had said over the phone. "It's a cabin on 50 acres of forest land." Jake almost hung up, thinking it was some kind of scam. But the paperwork was real, and after his messy divorce and his business falling apart, he figured he had nothing to lose. The dirt road got worse as he drove deeper into the woods. His city car wasn't made for this kind of terrain. Rocks scraped the bottom, and more than once he thought he might get stuck. The sun was getting low, painting the sky orange and pink through the tall pine trees. He had never seen so many trees in his life. Back in Chicago, the tallest things were buildings and traffic lights. Here, everything was green and wild and quiet. The only sounds were his engine and birds singing somewhere in the branches above. After another 20 minutes of bumpy driving, he saw it. The cabin sat in a small clearing surrounded by huge trees. It was bigger than he expected, made of dark logs with a stone chimney. It looked like something from a postcard about mountain life. But something was wrong. Smoke was coming out of the chimney. Warm yellow light glowed in the windows. Someone was definitely inside. Jake turned off his engine and sat there for a minute, confused. Maybe the lawyer had made a mistake. Maybe this wasn't his grandfather's place after all. He pulled out the directions again and checked. This was definitely the right address. He got out of his car slowly, listening for any sounds from the cabin. He could hear music playing softly inside. Classic rock, it sounded like. His grandfather had liked that kind of music. From what little he remembered. Walking up to the front porch, Jake noticed that the place was well maintained. The wooden steps were solid under his feet. Someone had been taking care of this property. Flower boxes sat under the windows, filled with colorful blooms he couldn't name. He knocked on the heavy wooden door. The music stopped immediately. Footsteps moved inside, but nobody answered. "Hello?" Jake called out. "I think there might be some confusion here. I'm the new owner of this property." Still no answer, but he could sense someone listening on the other side of the door. Jake tried the door handle. It was unlocked, so he pushed it open and stepped inside. "I'm coming in," he announced, not wanting to scare anyone. "I just want to talk." The inside of the cabin took his breath away. It was warm and cozy, with a fire crackling in the stone fireplace. Comfortable furniture was arranged around the room, and the walls were covered with amazing photographs of wildlife. Bears, wolves, eagles, deer, all captured in stunning detail. "Don't move another step." Jake froze. The voice came from somewhere behind him, and it belonged to a woman. Her tone was calm but deadly serious. "Turn around slowly," she said. "Keep your hands where I can see them." Jake did as she asked, raising his hands as he turned. What he saw made him forget how to breathe for a moment. A woman stood 10 feet away, pointing a hunting rifle directly at his chest. She was probably in her late 20s, with long black hair that hung loose around her shoulders. Her green eyes were sharp and alert, studying his every movement. She was tall and lean, wearing faded jeans and a flannel shirt that looked like it had seen many adventures, but it wasn't her appearance that struck him most. It was the way she carried herself. This woman was completely unafraid. She held the rifle like she knew exactly how to use it. Her stance was steady, her finger near the trigger but not on it. She was giving him a chance to explain himself, but Jake got the feeling that chance wouldn't last long. "Who are you?" she asked. "And what are you doing in my home?" "Your home," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I think there's been some mistake. This is my grandfather's cabin. I inherited it when he died 3 months ago." The woman's eyes narrowed. "Your grandfather?" "Henry Thompson," Jake said. Look, I have the papers in my car. The lawyer gave me the deed and everything, I can show you. For the first time, the woman's expression changed slightly. Something like surprise flickered across her face. But the rifle didn't move. Henry never mentioned having any family, she said. He told me his family forgot about him years ago. Wait, you knew my grandfather? I've been living here for 8 months, she said. Henry gave me permission before he went into the hospital. He said I could stay as long as I needed. Jake felt a wave of confusion. But he left me the cabin in his will. I have the legal documents. The woman studied his face for a long moment. What's your name? Jake. Jake Thompson. Henry was my grandfather on my father's side. I'm Luna, she said, but the rifle still didn't move. And I don't care what your papers say, this is my home now. I've been taking care of this place, fixing things, making it better. Henry wanted someone to love this land, and I do. Look, Luna. Jake said carefully, I'm sure we can work something out. I didn't even know this place existed until 3 months ago. Maybe we can... No. Luna cut him off. Her voice was firm and final. You don't understand. I can't leave here. This is where I belong now. She took a step closer, and Jake noticed something in her eyes that he hadn't seen before. Fear. This woman who seemed so strong and fearless was actually terrified of something. Not of him, but of something else entirely. I won't hurt you, Jake said softly. I just want to figure this out. You belong to me now, Luna said, her voice gaining strength. This land, this cabin, everything here is mine. If you want to stay, you follow my rules. If you don't like it, you can leave the same way you came. Jake looked around the cabin again. He could see that Luna had made this place into a real home. Personal touches were everywhere. Handmade curtains, books stacked on shelves, a guitar leaning against the wall. The photographs on the walls were incredible, clearly taken by someone with real talent. Did you take these pictures? He asked, nodding toward the wildlife photos. Luna's expression softened just a little. Yes. Photography was my job before... She stopped herself. Before I came here. They're amazing. You have a real gift. Don't try to butter me up, Luna said, but Jake could tell his compliment had affected her. I'm serious about this. I won't leave this place. I can't. Jake could hear something in her voice that made him curious rather than angry. This woman wasn't just being difficult, she was desperate. But desperate about what? Okay, he said slowly. I won't ask you to leave tonight. But we need to talk about this situation tomorrow. I drove 12 hours to get here and I'm exhausted. Luna watched him carefully. There's a motel about 30 miles back toward town. Come on, Jake said. It's getting dark and I'm too tired to drive safely. This place is big enough for both of us for one night. I'll sleep on the couch. Absolutely not. Look, I could call the police, Jake said, though he had no intention of doing it. I have legal ownership papers, but I don't want to cause trouble for you. I just want to understand what's going on here. Luna was quiet for a long moment, clearly thinking it over. Finally, she lowered the rifle slightly. One night, she said, but you sleep in your car. I don't know you, and I don't trust you. Jake wanted to argue, but he could see there was no point. At least she wasn't shooting him or making him drive away in the dark. Fair enough, he said. But can I at least use the bathroom and maybe get some water? Luna nodded toward a hallway. Bathroom's that way. There's bottled water in the kitchen. As Jake walked toward the bathroom, he noticed more details about how Luna had made this place her own. The kitchen was clean and organized, with herbs growing in small pots on the windowsill. A bookshelf was filled with guides about forest survival, wildlife photography, and outdoor living. When he came back, Luna was putting wood on the fire. She had set the rifle against the wall, but it was still within easy reach. Can I ask you something? Jake said. Luna looked at him suspiciously. Why can't you leave? Are you in some kind of trouble? Her face went hard again. That's none of your business. It kind of is my business if you're living on my property, Jake said gently. This isn't your property, Luna shot back. Legal papers don't mean anything out here. This land belongs to whoever loves it enough to protect it. Your grandfather understood that. He said the forest chooses its own guardians. Jake sat down in one of the chairs by the fire, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. Tell me about him. About my grandfather. I barely knew him. Luna hesitated, then sat down across from him, still keeping distance between them. Henry was a good man, she said. He understood what it meant to need a place to disappear. He found me living rough in the woods 8 months ago, half-starved and scared. He brought me here and told me I could stay. What were you running from? Luna's jaw tightened. Someone who thought he owned me. Someone who was wrong. Jake could hear the pain in her voice, and he felt a surge of protective anger toward whoever. Jake woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The cabin, Luna, the rifle pointed at his chest. He sat up in the small guest room and looked out the window. Morning sunlight filtered through tall pine trees, and he could hear birds singing outside. He got dressed and walked to the kitchen where Luna was standing at the stove. She had changed into clean jeans and a green sweater that brought out her eyes. Her long black hair was braided back and she looked more relaxed than she had the night before. Morning, Jake said carefully. Luna glanced at him. There's coffee in the pot. I made extra food, but don't think this means anything. I just don't like waste. Jake poured himself coffee and sat at the small wooden table. The kitchen was cozy, with handmade curtains and mason jars filled with dried herbs. Everything was clean and organized. You've done a lot of work on this place, he said. Someone had to, Luna replied, flipping bacon in the pan. When I first got here, half the roof was leaking and the pipes barely worked. Your grandfather was a good man, but he wasn't much of a handyman in his later years. She put a plate of food in front of him, scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast made from what looked like homemade bread. It smelled incredible. Thank you, Jake said. This is really kind of you. Don't read too much into it, Luna said, but her voice wasn't as sharp as before. They ate in silence for a while. Jake kept glancing around the kitchen, noticing more details. A calendar on the wall marked with notes about weather patterns. A notebook filled with what looked like observations about local wildlife. This wasn't just a place where Luna was hiding. It was where she was building a life. Can I see the legal papers? Luna asked suddenly. Jake nodded and went to his car to get the folder the lawyer had given him. When he came back, Luna was cleaning dishes at the sink. He spread the documents on the table. Luna dried her hands and sat down to read. Jake watched, her face as she went through the deed, the will, and the other paperwork. Her expression didn't give anything away. It's all legal, she said finally. Henry left you everything. The cabin, the land, even his truck that's parked out back. But Jake could hear there was more. Luna was quiet for a long moment. Then she got up and walked to a drawer, pulling out a folded piece of paper. He left me this, she said, handing it to Jake. It was a handwritten letter on his grandfather's letterhead. Jake recognized the shaky handwriting from birthday cards he'd gotten as a kid. Luna, the letter began. If something happens to me, I want you to know that this land is as much yours as anyone's. You've brought life back to this place, and you understand what it means to be part of the forest instead of just visiting. Legal papers are one thing, but the land chooses its own guardians. Stay as long as you need to. This is your home now. Henry. Jake read the letter twice, feeling a mix of emotions. His grandfather had clearly cared about Luna a lot, but legally the cabin still belonged to Jake. I can see why you don't want to leave, Jake said, handing the letter back. I won't leave, Luna corrected. This isn't about wanting, this is about survival. What does that mean? Luna's face went hard again. It means there are people looking for me and this is the only place I feel safe. Jake wanted to ask more questions, but he could see Luna wasn't ready to share that information. Instead, he looked out the window at the beautiful forest surrounding them. Okay, he said. Let's figure out how to make this work. Luna looked surprised. What do you mean? I mean, this place is big enough for 2 people. You've been taking care of it, and you clearly need somewhere safe to live. I need somewhere to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Maybe we can help each other. You're serious? I'm serious, but we need to set some ground rules. Luna crossed her arms. I'm listening. First, no more guns pointed at me unless I actually deserve it, Jake said. Second, we split the chores and expenses. Third, we both get privacy when we need it. Luna considered this. What about the legal stuff? The legal stuff says this is my property, Jake said. But your letter says my grandfather wanted you here. So as far as I'm concerned, you have the right to stay. Just like that? Just like that. But I want to know what I'm getting into. If someone dangerous is looking for you, I need to know about it. Luna was quiet for a long time. Jake could see she was struggling with how much to tell him. My ex-husband, she said finally. Ray. He's a police detective, and he has friends in a lot of places. When I left him, he made it clear he wasn't going to just let me go. Did he hurt you? Luna's hand went unconsciously to her left wrist, where Jake noticed a faint scar for the first time. Ray believes that when you marry someone, you own them, Luna said. He didn't like it when I disagreed. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. And he's still looking for you? He's still looking for me. That's why I can't just move somewhere else. This place is remote enough that he'll have trouble finding me, and I know the forest well enough to disappear if I need to. What about the police? Can't you report him? Luna laughed, but there was no humor in it. Report a decorated detective to his own department? Ray's got friends everywhere. Besides, I don't have proof of anything. He was always careful about that. Jake understood now why Luna had been so fierce the night before. She wasn't just protecting a home. She was protecting her life. Well, Jake said, he'll have to go through me now, too. Luna stared at him. You don't even know me. Why would you put yourself at risk for a stranger? Jake thought about that. The truth was he couldn't completely explain it, but something about Luna's strength and vulnerability made him want to help her. And after the way his own life had fallen apart, maybe he needed something worth fighting for. Maybe I'm tired of running away from things, Jake said. My ex-wife, my business partner, my family. I've spent the last year letting other people push me around. Maybe it's time to stand up for something. Luna looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You really mean it? I really mean it. But if we're going to do this, we need to be smart about it. Tell me everything you know about Ray and what he's capable of. Over the next hour, Luna told Jake about her marriage to Ray Kowalski. How he had seemed charming and protective at first. How the control had started small, checking her phone, questioning her friendships, insisting on knowing where she was, every minute. How it had escalated to physical violence when she tried to assert any independence. I was a wildlife photographer before I met Ray, Luna explained. I traveled all over the country for work. I loved the freedom of it, being out, in nature, capturing moments that most people never get to see. Jake thought about the stunning photographs covering the cabin walls. The pictures here? You took all of these? Most of them. After I married Ray, he made me quit traveling. Said it wasn't safe for a woman to be alone in the wilderness. Then he made me quit photography altogether. Said we didn't need the money, and he wanted me to focus on being a proper wife. That's when things got worse? Luna nodded. I tried to leave twice. The first time, Ray found me within 3 days. He used his police connections to track me down. The second time, I made it. 2 weeks before he showed up at the motel where I was staying. What happened? He arrested me on fake charges. His friends in the department backed him up. I spent 3 days in jail before a judge finally realized the charges were ridiculous and let me go. But by then, Ray had cleaned out our bank accounts and told everyone I was having a mental breakdown. Jake could see the pain in Luna's eyes as she told the story. He was starting to understand why she had been so ready to fight when he showed up at the cabin. How did you finally get away? I got lucky. Ray went to a police conference in another state. I had maybe 4 days before he'd be back. I took what I could carry and disappeared into the wilderness. I lived rough in the forest for almost 3 months before your grandfather found me. And Henry helped you? Henry saved my life. Luna said simply. I was half-starved and getting sick from the cold. He brought me here and nursed me back to health. He said the forest had sent me to him because the cabin needed someone who understood its spirit. Jake could picture his grandfather saying something like that. Even as a kid, Jake had remembered Henry as someone who saw magic in nature that other people missed. He never asked questions about why I was running, Luna continued. He just said that sometimes people need a place to heal, and healing takes time. How long has it been since you left Ray? Almost a year now, but I know he's still looking. He sends me messages sometimes through old friends, letting me know he hasn't given up. Ray doesn't like to lose, and in his mind, I'm something he lost. Jake felt a chill at the thought of someone hunting Luna like she was property to be reclaimed, but he also felt more determined than ever to help her. So what do? We stay alert, Luna said. We learn each other's routines, so we know when something's wrong. We have escape plans ready, and we hope that Ray eventually gives up and moves on. What if he doesn't give up? Luna's green eyes went hard again. Then we deal with it when it happens. The rest of the morning was spent working out the practical details of sharing the cabin. Luna showed Jake around the property, pointing out the improvements she had made. She had fixed the leaky roof, upgraded. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Jake woke up to complete silence. That was strange. Usually he could hear Luna moving around the kitchen by this time of morning, making coffee and starting breakfast. He got dressed and walked to the main room, but there was no sign of her. Luna, he called out. No answer. He knocked on her bedroom door. Luna, you okay in there? I'm fine, came her muffled voice through the door. Just not feeling great today. Jake could tell she was lying. In the weeks they had been living together, Luna had proven to be incredibly tough. She worked outside in all kinds of weather, lifted heavy logs like they weighed nothing, and never complained about anything. For her to stay in bed, something had to be really wrong. Can I get you anything? Medicine, soup, tea? I said I'm fine, but Jake could hear something in her voice that worried him. He went to the kitchen and made a pot of tea, then knocked on her door again. I'm leaving some tea outside your door, he said, and I'll be around if you need anything. The day passed, strangely without Luna's presence. Jake worked on repairing some loose boards on the front porch, but he found himself listening for sounds from her room every few minutes. Around noon, he heard her get up and go to the bathroom, but she went right back to her room afterward. He was starting to get really concerned when evening came, and she still hadn't emerged. He made dinner for 2, just in case, and knocked on her door again. Luna, I made pasta. You should eat something. This time she opened the door just a crack. Jake could see that her eyes were red and puffy like she had been crying. I'm not hungry, she said. What's wrong? Jake asked gently. Talk to me. Luna hesitated, then opened the door wider. She was wearing an old sweatshirt and looked exhausted. What day is it? She asked. October 15th. Why? Luna's face crumpled. It's my wedding anniversary. Would have been anyway. Ray and I got married 3 years ago today. Jake felt a wave of understanding. No wonder she was upset. Anniversaries of traumatic events could hit people harder than expected, even when they were trying to move on. I'm sorry, he said. That must be really difficult. I keep thinking about who I was back then, Luna said, tears starting to flow again. I was so naive. I thought Ray loved me. I thought I was lucky to find someone who wanted to take care of me. You couldn't have known what he really was. But I ignored the signs, Luna said. My friends tried to warn me. My sister said Ray was too controlling. But I thought they were just jealous because I was happy. Jake wanted to hug her, but he wasn't sure if that would be welcome. Instead, he sat down on the floor outside her room. You want to tell me about it? Luna sat down too, leaning against her doorframe. Our wedding was beautiful. Ray spared no expense. He invited everyone he knew from work, made sure all the important people in town were there. I felt like a princess. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. The honeymoon was when things started to change. We went to Hawaii, and I brought my camera to take pictures of the wildlife there. Ray got angry because I was spending more time photographing birds than paying attention to him. What did he do? He threw my camera in the ocean, said I didn't need it anymore because now I had him to focus on. When I got upset, he said I was being ungrateful, that he had given me the perfect wedding and vacation, and I was ruining it by caring more about stupid birds than my new husband. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. That should have been a huge red flag. I told myself he was just stressed. From the wedding and starting our life together, I made excuses for him. I always made excuses for him. Luna was quiet for a moment, lost in memories. The worst part is that I loved him. Even after everything got bad, part of me still believed that the man I married was real, and if I could just be a better wife, he would come back. Abusers are good at making you think it's your fault, Jake said. That's how they keep control. How? Do you know so much about it? Jake was quiet for a moment. My mom was in an abusive relationship when I was a kid. My real dad. I watched her make excuses for him for years before she finally got the courage to leave. I didn't know. It's not something I talk about much, but I remember how hard it was for her to accept that the problem wasn't with her, it was with him. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Luna spoke again. Some days I feel strong, like I'm really free of him. But other days, like today, I feel like I'm still that scared woman who believed she deserved to be treated badly. Healing isn't linear, Jake said. You're going to have good days and bad days, but the fact that you got away from him, that you've built this life for yourself, that takes incredible strength. Luna looked at him with surprise. You really believe that? I've been watching you for 3 weeks, Jake said. You fix things that I can't figure out how to fix. You know every sound the forest makes and what each one means. You've turned this cabin into a real home. Ray was an idiot if he thought breaking you down would make you better. For the first time all day, Luna smiled a little. Thank you. You hungry now? I made enough pasta for both of us. Luna nodded and they went to the kitchen together. As they ate, Jake told her funny stories about his attempts to learn wilderness skills, and Luna gradually started to relax. By the time they finished dinner, some of the light had come back to her eyes. I'm sorry I wasted the whole day feeling sorry for myself, she said. You didn't waste anything. You had a hard day and you got through it. That's not nothing. That night, Jake was awakened by screaming. He bolted upright in bed, immediately alert. The screaming was coming from Luna's room. She was having a nightmare. He ran to her door and knocked loudly. Luna! Luna! Wake up! The screaming stopped, replaced by ragged breathing. Jake heard movement in her room, then her door opened. Luna stood there in pajamas, her hair messy and her face pale with fear. I'm sorry, she said. Did I wake you? Are you okay? Luna nodded, but Jake could see that she was shaking. Just a nightmare. I get them sometimes. About Ray? Yeah. He was here in the cabin. He found me. Luna wrapped her arms around herself. It felt so real. Without thinking, Jake stepped forward and pulled her into a hug. For a moment, Luna went rigid with surprise. Then she melted against him, letting him hold her while she trembled. It was just a dream, Jake said softly. You're safe. He doesn't know where you are. Luna stayed in his arms for a long moment, and Jake became aware of how warm she was, how good she smelled like pine trees and something uniquely her. When she finally pulled back, there was something different in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Always, Jake said and meant it. The next morning, Luna seemed embarrassed about the night before. She was quieter than usual and avoided meeting Jake's eyes directly. But as the day went on, something had shifted between them. She asked for his help with small tasks she usually did alone. He found himself looking for excuses to be near her. That afternoon, a storm rolled in from the mountains. The wind picked up suddenly, bending the tall pine trees and sending clouds racing across the sky. Luna and Jake worked together to secure anything outside that might blow away. This is going to be a big one, Luna said, looking at the darkening sky. The weather radio said it could last for days. She was right, By evening, snow was falling heavily and the wind was howling around the cabin. They lost power around 8 o'clock, but Luna had prepared for this. She lit oil lamps and got candles going while Jake built up the fire in the fireplace. "Good thing we have plenty of firewood," Jake said. "And plenty of food," Luna added. "We could be stuck here for a week if this keeps up." The idea of being snowed in with Luna for a week made Jake's heart race, though he tried not to show it. Over the past few weeks, he had found himself increasingly attracted to her. Not just because she was beautiful, though she definitely was. It was her strength, her connection to the natural world, the way she had survived terrible circumstances and still managed to find joy in simple things. They played card games by lamplight and talked about everything and nothing. Luna told him about her childhood growing up on a farm in Wisconsin. Jake shared stories about his architecture projects and the satisfaction of designing buildings that worked in harmony with their surroundings. "Is that why you became an architect?" Luna asked. "To create harmony between people and places?" "I think so," Jake said. "I've always been interested in how spaces affect how people feel. A well-designed building can make someone feel calm and inspired. A poorly designed one can make them feel trapped or anxious. Like this cabin makes me feel safe," Luna said softly. "Exactly." The storm raged outside, but inside the cabin felt cozy and protected. As the night wore on, Jake found himself stealing glances at Luna in the flickering lamplight. She was so beautiful it almost hurt to look at her. But more than that, he was falling for her spirit, her resilience, the way she had turned tragedy into strength. Around midnight, Luna yawned and stretched. "I should probably try to get some sleep." "Me too," Jake agreed, though he wasn't tired at all. But neither of them moved. They sat looking at each other across the small table, and Jake could feel something electric in the air between them. "Jake," Luna said quietly. "Yeah? Thank you. For everything. For letting me stay. For understanding about Ray. For making me feel less alone. You don't have to thank me for any of that." 2 months had passed since the storm that changed everything between Jake and Luna. They had settled into a rhythm that felt natural and right, sharing meals, working on cabin improvements together, spending evenings by the fire, talking or reading. Their relationship had grown slowly and carefully, built on trust and genuine affection. Jake had never been happier. He was designing custom furniture for the cabin, using skills he hadn't touched since college. Luna had started taking photographs, again, though she was careful about where and how she shared them online. They were building something beautiful together. That's why the knock on the door at 7 in the morning felt like a punch to the gut. Jake was making coffee when he heard it. 3 sharp raps that somehow sounded official and threatening. Luna was still asleep in the master bedroom, which she had been sharing with Jake for the past month. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Jake walked to the window and peered out carefully. A man in a dark coat stood on the front porch. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with short gray hair and the kind of posture that screamed law enforcement. Behind him, Jake could see a black SUV parked in their driveway. Jake's blood ran cold. This had to be Ray. "Luna," Jake called out quietly. "Luna, wake up, we have a problem." He heard movement from the bedroom, then Luna appeared in the hallway wearing one of his old shirts and looking confused. When she saw his expression, she went immediately alert. "What's wrong?" "Someone's here. I think it's him." Luna's face went white. She moved to the window and looked out, staying hidden behind the curtain. Jake saw her entire body go rigid. "It's Ray," she whispered. The knocking came again, harder this time. Then they heard a voice that made Luna flinch. "Police, open up." "What do we do?" Jake asked quietly. Luna was already moving, grabbing clothes from the bedroom and getting dressed quickly. "There's a back way out through the kitchen window. I can disappear into the forest." "No," Jake said firmly. "We're not running. You have every right to be here." "Jake, you don't understand. Ray doesn't play by normal rules. If he's here, he has some kind of plan. Then we'll face it together." Before Luna could argue, Ray's voice came again, louder and more aggressive. "I know you're in there, Luna. This is Detective Ray Kowalski with the County Sheriff's Department. Open the door now or I'll have grounds to enter by force. Jake looked at Luna. He can't do that, can he? He doesn't have jurisdiction here. Ray has friends everywhere, Luna said, her voice shaking, and he's good at making legal problems for people who get in his way. Jake took her hands, which were trembling. Listen to me. You are not that scared woman he married. You're strong now. You know who you are. And you're not alone anymore. Luna looked into his eyes and seemed to draw strength from what she saw there. She nodded. Okay. But let me do the talking. I know how Ray operates. They walked to the front door together. Luna took a deep breath and opened it. Ray Kowalski was exactly what Jake had expected. Tall, intimidating, with cold blue eyes and a face that probably looked friendly to people who didn't know better. He was wearing a heavy coat over what looked like a sheriff's uniform, complete with a badge and gun. Hello, Luna, Ray said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You've been a hard woman to find. What do you want, Ray? Luna's voice was steady, but Jake could feel the tension radiating from her. I want to talk to my wife. Ex-wife, Luna corrected. Our divorce was finalized 6 months ago. Was it really? Ray pulled out an official-looking document. Because according to this court order, that divorce was obtained fraudulently. You lied about your address and didn't properly serve me with papers. The divorce is void. Jake felt his heart sink. He looked at the document Ray was holding but couldn't read it from where he stood. That's impossible, Luna said. I followed all the legal procedures. Did you? Because my lawyer found some interesting discrepancies. Turns out when you use a fake address to hide from your husband, it affects the validity of your legal filings. Ray's eyes moved to Jake for the first time. And you must be the man who's been harboring my wife. I'm Detective Kowalski. And you are? Jake Thompson. This is my property. Ah, the mysterious grandson, Ray said. Funny thing, I did some checking on you too, Mr. Thompson. Seems you've got some financial problems back in Chicago. Outstanding debts, failed business, messy divorce of your own. Makes a man wonder what you're really doing way out here with another man's wife. Jake felt a chill. Ray had obviously done his homework. Luna and I are in a relationship, Jake said. A legal relationship between two consenting adults. Is it legal, though? Ray asked, still smiling. Because according to this court document, Luna is still married to me, which makes what you two are doing adultery. And in this state, that's still a crime. You're bluffing, Luna said, but Jake could hear the fear creeping into her voice. Am I? Why don't you call a lawyer and find out? Oh wait, you can't afford one, can you? Not living off the grid like this. Ray's smile grew wider. But don't worry. I'm prepared to be reasonable. What do you want? Jake asked. I want my wife to come home with me. We can work out our problems like adults. Luna has been confused and scared, but I'm willing to forgive her for running away. I'm not going anywhere with you, Luna said firmly. Are you sure about that? Ray pulled out another document. Because I've also got a warrant for your arrest, Luna. Seems there's been some suspicious activity on our joint credit card since you left. Unauthorized charges, identity theft, fraud. The bank is very interested in talking to you. Luna's face went pale. I used that card once for gas when I was running. That's not fraud, isn't it? You used a card that belongs to your husband without his permission. That's theft. And since you were hiding from me, that makes it identity theft too. Jake could see Ray's game now. He was using his position and legal knowledge to trap Luna, creating charges that might not hold up in court but would be enough to arrest her and drag her back to wherever he came from. Even if that's true, Jake said, she can post bail and fight the charges. Can she? On what money? And who's going to bail out a fugitive who's been living under a false identity? Ray's eyes glittered with satisfaction. No, I think the smartest thing for Luna to do is come with me now. We can work all this out privately as husband and wife. I said no, Luna repeated, but her voice was weaker now. Ray's friendly mask slipped for just a moment, and Jake saw the cold anger underneath. You don't really have a choice, Luna. You can come with me willingly, or I can arrest you right now and drag you back in handcuffs. Either way, you're leaving with me. Jake stepped between Ray and Luna. She's not going anywhere. Ray laughed. And what are you going to do to stop me? Assault a police officer? That's a felony, Mr. Thompson. I don't think you want to add that to your list of problems. Maybe not, Jake said. But I can make some calls of my own, starting with the FBI. The FBI. Ray looked amused. What makes you think they'd be interested in a domestic dispute? Because this isn't a domestic dispute. This is harassment and abuse of power by a corrupt cop, and I'm betting if they look into your record, they'll find some interesting patterns. For the first time, Ray's confidence wavered slightly. You're fishing. Am I? Luna told me about the other women you've been involved with. The arrests that got dismissed, the charges that disappeared, the witnesses who suddenly changed their stories. That's a pattern the FBI loves to investigate. Ray's face darkened. You don't know what you're talking about. Then you won't mind if I make the call, Jake said, pulling out his phone. Put the phone down, Ray said, his hand moving toward his weapon. Ray, don't, Luna said quickly. This isn't worth it. Isn't it? Ray's mask was completely off now, revealing the angry, controlling man underneath. I've been looking for you for almost a year, Luna. Do you have any idea what that's done to my reputation, my career, people asking questions about why my wife left me? Maybe you should have asked yourself that question, Luna said. Ray took a step toward her, and Jake moved to block him again. Get out of my way, Ray snarled. Make me. For a moment, Jake thought Ray was going to draw his gun. The tension was so thick he could practically taste it. Then Ray seemed to get control of himself. You know what? Ray said, stepping back. Fine, you want to play games? We'll play games, but Luna, you should know that I'm not the only one looking for you now. Those fraud charges are real. There's an active warrant. Other police departments are going to be looking for you too. Those charges won't stick and you know it, Jake said. Maybe not, but Luna will sit in jail for months while her court-appointed lawyer figures that out, and I'll make sure she sits in a cell right where I can visit her every day. Luna shuddered at the threat, and Jake felt rage building in his chest. Unless, Ray continued, she comes with me now, we go back home, work things out privately, and all these legal problems disappear. That's coercion, Jake said. That's marriage, Ray replied with his cold smile back in place. Jake could see Luna was wavering, terrified by the legal threats Ray was making. But he also saw something else in her eyes, a spark of the fierce woman who had pointed a rifle at him that first night. No, Luna said quietly. What? I said no. Luna's voice was getting stronger. I don't care about your fake charges or your legal games. I'm not going back with you. I'd rather. The weeks following Ray's visit were tense but productive. Jake and Luna worked together like a well-oiled machine, gathering evidence and building their case. Jake used his remaining contacts from his business days to find a lawyer who specialized in police corruption cases. Luna reached out carefully to old friends, trying to find other women who might have had similar experiences with Ray. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Agent Sarah Chen from the FBI called Jake on a Tuesday morning in December. She had been investigating a pattern of domestic violence cases involving law enforcement officers across several states, and Ray's name had come up multiple times. We've been building a case against Detective Kowalski for over a year, Agent Chen explained during their video call, but victims have been too scared to come forward, or they've been intimidated into dropping charges. What changed? Jake asked. Luna was sitting next to him, listening to every word. We finally have a witness who can't be intimidated. Another police officer who saw Ray threatening a victim and is willing to testify, but we need more evidence to make the charges stick. Luna leaned forward. What kind of evidence? Documentation of harassment, abuse of power, fraudulent legal filings, the kind of things Ray did when he came to see you last month. Jake smiled. We recorded that entire conversation. You did? Hidden cameras, Luna said. After what Ray put me through during our marriage, I learned to document everything. We have video of him making false legal threats and admitting he's been tracking me illegally. Agent Chen was quiet for a moment. Would you be willing to testify? Luna looked at Jake and he squeezed her hand supportively. Yes, she said. I'm ready to tell my story. The next month was a whirlwind of legal preparation. Agent Chen worked with local prosecutors to build a comprehensive case against Ray. It turned out that Luna wasn't his only victim. 3 other women came forward with similar stories of harassment and abuse after their relationships with Ray ended. But Ray wasn't going down without a fight. He used every connection he had to try to discredit Luna and the other witnesses. He filed countercharges, claiming Luna had stolen from him and violated their marriage agreement. He even tried to get Jake arrested on trumped-up charges of harboring a fugitive. None of it worked. The evidence was too strong, and Agent Chen had done her homework. When Ray was finally arrested in February, the charges included stalking, harassment, abuse of power, filing false police reports, and domestic violence. The day of Ray's arrest, Jake and Luna were working in the cabin's kitchen when Agent Chen called with the news. It's over, she said. Ray Kowalski is in federal custody. All charges against you have been dropped, Luna. You're free. Luna started crying, tears of relief, joy, and disbelief that her nightmare was finally ending. Jake held her while she sobbed, feeling his own emotions overwhelming him. But even with Ray in custody, Luna struggled to believe she was truly safe. What if he gets out on bail? She worried. What if his lawyer friends find a way to get the charges dismissed? Agent Chen says the evidence is rock solid, Jake reminded her. And even if something went wrong with the federal case, Ray's own department has suspended him pending investigation. His career in law enforcement is over. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, Luna admitted. I've been afraid for so long I don't know how to stop. Jake understood. Trauma doesn't disappear overnight even when the threat is gone. Luna had spent years being hyper-vigilant, always looking over her shoulder, never feeling completely safe. It would take time for her to adjust to freedom. Spring came early that year, bringing warm sunshine and the sound of birds returning to the forest around their cabin. Luna started taking her camera out more often, capturing the beauty of the changing seasons. Her photographs were stunning, full of life and hope in a way they hadn't been before. You should put together a portfolio, Jake suggested one evening as they looked through her latest shots on her laptop. These are gallery quality. Luna smiled. Maybe someday. Right now I'm just happy to be taking pictures because I want to, not because I have to hide or prove anything. Their relationship had deepened through all the stress of the legal battle. They had learned to rely on each other completely, to trust each other with their fears and hopes. Jake had never felt so connected to another person, which is why what happened next caught him completely off guard. In late April, Luna announced that she was thinking about leaving. Not forever, she said quickly when she saw Jake's expression. Just for a while. I want to travel again, maybe visit some of the national parks I photographed before I met Ray. I feel like I need to prove to myself that I can be independent again. Jake felt like she had punched him in the stomach. You want to leave? Now? After everything we've been through together? Jake, please try to understand. I've gone from being controlled by Ray to depending on you for safety. I need to know I can stand on my own 2 feet. But you can stand on your own, Jake protested. You're one of the strongest people I know. Am I? Or have I just traded one kind of dependency for another? The conversation turned into their first real fight. Jake felt hurt and abandoned. Luna felt suffocated and misunderstood. They went to bed angry, sleeping on opposite sides of the bed for the first time in months. The next morning, Luna was gone. Jake found a note on the kitchen table. I need some time to think. I'll be back in a few days. Please don't follow me. I love you. Luna. Jake was furious. After everything they had built together, she just left without talking it through. He paced around the cabin for hours, alternating between anger and worry. What if something happened? To her? What if she decided she didn't want to come back? 3 days passed without any word from Luna. Jake barely slept, checking his phone constantly for messages that never came. He considered driving to town to look for her. But her note had been clear. She didn't want him to follow. On the fourth day, he heard a car in the driveway. Jake ran outside hoping to see Luna, but it was a delivery truck. The driver handed him a package addressed to Luna, then drove away. Jake looked at the return address. It was from a photography gallery in Denver. Inside was a letter offering Luna a solo exhibition of her work, along with a substantial advance payment. "Someone submitted your portfolio to us," the letter read. "We were blown away by the emotional depth and technical quality of your wilderness photography. We would love to discuss representation and a possible exhibition this fall." Jake stared at the letter, realizing what Luna must be feeling. After years of being told she wasn't good enough, that her dreams didn't matter, she was getting validation from the outside world. But she was also probably terrified that accepting this opportunity would mean choosing between her career and her relationship with Jake. That evening, Luna came home. She looked tired and uncertain as she walked through the front door. Jake was sitting by the fireplace, the gallery letter in his hands. "This came for you," he said, holding it out. Luna took the letter and read it, her eyes widening with surprise and excitement. Then her expression became guarded again. "You opened my mail?" The envelope was torn. I saw what it was about. Jake stood up. "Luna, this is incredible. They want to represent you." "I know it's incredible. That's the problem." "Why is it a problem?" Luna sat down heavily in a chair. "Because I don't know how to have both things. My career and a relationship. Every time I've tried before, I've had to choose." "You don't have to choose with me," Jake said. "I would never ask you to give up your dreams." "You say that now. But what if I have to travel for shoots? What if I'm gone for weeks at a time? What if my career takes off and suddenly I'm busier than you're comfortable with?" Jake was quiet for a moment, understanding dawning on him. "You're not really afraid of being dependent on me. You're afraid of me becoming controlling like Ray was." Luna's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to lose you. But I also can't go back to being someone who makes herself small to keep a man happy." Jake knelt down in front of her chair, taking her hands in his. "Luna, listen to me. I fell in love with your strength, your passion, your independence. Why would I want to change the things I love most about you? Because that's what men do. They say they love your independence until it becomes inconvenient. I'm not those men. I'm not Ray." Jake looked directly into her eyes. "You know what I did while you were gone? I researched photography galleries in Chicago and New York. I looked up artist residency programs. I started thinking about how we could make this work if your career takes you to different places." Luna stared at him. "You did?" "I did. Because I love you, Luna. Not some version of you that stays home and makes me feel important. The real you. The woman who spent 8 months living alone in the wilderness. The woman who pointed a rifle at me that first night and told me I belonged to her." Luna laughed through her tears. "I did say that, didn't I?" "You did. And you were right. I do belong to you, but not in the way Ray thought he owned you. I belong to you the way people belong to places they love, by choice, by commitment, by wanting to help protect and nurture what matters most." Luna was crying openly now, but they were tears of relief and joy. "I love you too. I was so scared that loving you meant giving up myself." "Never," Jake said firmly. "You're Luna Winters, wildlife photographer and forest guardian.